Have you ever wondered why things don't seem to go as planned in your life? Do you feel like you're constantly facing struggles, unsure of the reason behind it all? In this video, we'll explore the truth that God has a perfect plan for your life. Even when it feels like everything is falling apart, He's working behind the scenes in ways you can't yet see. Stick with me, and by the end, you'll understand why nothing that happens is a mistake and how each event is carefully woven into His divine purpose. By watching this video, you'll gain insight into how to trust God's timing and find peace, even in the most difficult moments. You'll see that every struggle, every delay, and every setback is part of a bigger picture, and it's all leading you closer to the life God has planned for you. This video will show you how to shift your perspective and find purpose, even in your pain. If you're ready to discover the peace and purpose you've been searching for, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. By subscribing, you'll stay connected to more powerful messages that can guide you through life's toughest challenges, helping you grow in faith and trust in God's plan every step of the way. Have you ever tried to make sense of something in your life, only to feel completely lost? It's like putting together a puzzle with missing pieces. We try to figure things out, but often we can't see the whole picture. That's exactly how God's plan works. His vision is so much bigger than ours, and sometimes what we see as confusion or chaos is actually part of His perfect design. What if I told you that the things you don't understand right now are leading you to something greater than you can imagine? We live in a world where we crave control. We want answers, and we want them now. But God doesn't operate on our timeline or in ways we always understand. In Isaiah 55:8-9, God says, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways." This reminds us that His ways are higher than ours. What might seem like a setback to you could actually be a setup for something far greater. You just haven't seen it unfold yet. It's easy to question God when things don't go the way we expect. We might wonder, why is this happening to me? But instead of questioning, what if we learn to trust that God sees the bigger picture? He knows what's best for us, even when it doesn't make sense in the moment. His plan may not align with our immediate desires, but it's always for our ultimate good. The more we learn to surrender to that truth, the more peace we will find in the process. God's plan isn't meant to be fully understood. It's meant to be trusted. When we try to force our own understanding, we limit ourselves. But when we allow God to lead, even when we don't have all the answers, we begin to walk in faith, and that's when we truly see the beauty of His plan unfold. God is working, even when we don't understand. How often do we find ourselves frustrated, asking God, why hasn't this happened yet? Whether it's a job opportunity, a relationship, or a long-awaited breakthrough, waiting can feel unbearable. But what if the delay isn't a denial? What if the very thing you're waiting for is simply not part of God's timing yet? Faith isn't just believing that God will come through. It's trusting that He will do it at the exact right moment, even when it seems like He's taking too long. God's timing is perfect, but it's rarely the timing we expect. In Ecclesiastes 3:11, it says, "He has made everything beautiful in its time." That means that every moment of waiting, every season of uncertainty, is building something beautiful that we can't yet see. Faith is what sustains us in those moments. It's trusting that while we wait, God is working. He's preparing us, shaping us, and aligning things in ways we don't even realize. Think about this. What if God gave you what you wanted too soon? Would you be ready for it? Sometimes the waiting is for our own protection or growth. Faith helps us embrace that reality. It teaches us that God's delays are not His denials. They're often His way of making sure we are prepared to handle the blessings He has in store for us. The key to trusting God's timing is letting go of our need for control and trusting that His timing is perfect, even when it feels uncomfortable. When we lean on faith, we find peace in the process and patience to wait for what God has already ordained to be ours. His timing is never too early and never too late. It's always right on time. Why do bad things happen? Why do we experience pain, loss, and heartache if God loves us? These are the questions that keep us up at night, searching for meaning in the middle of our struggles. But what if I told you that your pain has a purpose? What if the very thing that feels like it's breaking you is actually what God is using to shape you? Pain is not wasted in God's hands. He uses it to transform us, to refine us, and to bring us closer to His purpose for our lives. In Romans 8 verse 28, we're reminded that all things work together for the good of those who love God. Notice it says all things. That includes the pain, the disappointments, the betrayals. God doesn't promise a life free of hardship, but He promises to use every single hardship for good. The struggles you're facing right now, they are molding you, strengthening you, and preparing you for something greater. Sometimes, it's in the hardest moments that God is doing His greatest work within us. Pain can either make us bitter or make us better. It all depends on how we respond to it. When we see our struggles through the lens of faith, we realize that God is not punishing us. He's preparing us. The obstacles you're facing today could be the very thing that equips you to fulfill the purpose He has for you tomorrow. It's through our struggles that we learn to rely on Him more deeply and discover strength we didn't even know we had. You may not see it right now, but there is purpose in your pain. Every tear you've cried, every hardship you've endured is part of a bigger plan. God is using it to refine your character, build your faith, and prepare you for the blessings that are yet to come. Trust that He is working, even in your darkest moments, to bring about something far greater than you could ever imagine. Have you ever found yourself doubting whether God really knows what He's doing? Maybe you faced a situation so difficult that you started questioning, did God make a mistake? Am I really where I'm supposed to be? It's a feeling we all experience at some point, but here's the truth. God is never wrong. His wisdom, His plan, and His decisions are perfect, even when we can't see it. What looks like a mistake to us is often the exact thing God is using to fulfill His greater purpose. Isaiah 46:10 tells us that God declares the end from the beginning. He sees the entire picture when we only see a small part. What you're facing right now might not make sense, but that doesn't mean it's a mistake. God's ways are higher than ours, and His understanding is beyond what we can grasp. When you're in the middle of a storm, it's easy to think God has lost control. But nothing could be further from the truth. He knows exactly what He's doing, and He's guiding you through it with purpose. Think about this. If you could see your life from God's perspective, you'd realize that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. God doesn't make errors. He doesn't overlook details. Every step you take is part of His plan, even if the path looks messy from where you're standing. That's why faith is so crucial. It's trusting that God is always right, even when our circumstances suggest otherwise. He never fails, and He never missteps. When you trust that God is never wrong, you find peace in the uncertainty. You stop trying to figure everything out and start resting in the knowledge that He's in control. No matter what you're going through, remember this: God doesn't make mistakes. His timing is perfect, His plan is flawless, and His love for you is unwavering. You can trust Him, because He is never wrong. Life rarely goes as planned. One moment, everything is falling into place, and the next, everything feels like it's falling apart. But here's the question. Are these unexpected turns really just random events, or could they be part of something greater? What if the detours and disruptions in your life are actually divine interventions? That's what divine providence is. God's hand guiding your life in ways you don't always see. Every twist and turn, no matter how unexpected, is part of His master plan. We often find ourselves frustrated when life takes a sudden shift. Maybe you lost a job, faced a health crisis, or had a relationship fall apart. It's natural to feel like things are spinning out of control. But in Proverbs 16:9 it says, "In their hearts, humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps." This means that while we may set our own plans, God is the one who truly directs our path. He sees what we cannot, and He knows what we need, even before we do. Those unexpected turns? They're not accidents. They're God's way of leading you to where you're meant to be. Sometimes it's the things we never expected that end up being the greatest blessings. What we see as interruptions, God sees as opportunities to bring us closer to His purpose for our lives. Think about Joseph in the Bible, sold into slavery by his own brothers, imprisoned for a crime he didn't commit, And yet, through all of these unexpected turns, God positioned him to save an entire nation. What if the challenges you're facing right now are preparing you for something far bigger than you can imagine? Divine providence means that nothing in your life is wasted. Every setback, every unexpected turn is a step in the journey that God has mapped out for you. When you understand that God is in control of even the surprises, you can face life's uncertainties with confidence, knowing that He is leading you to exactly where you need to be. Trust in the twists and turns because they are all part of the beautiful plan He has for your life. When life feels overwhelming, it's easy to lose hope. We look at our circumstances and wonder why things are happening the way they are. But here's something you need to remember. Everything happens for a reason. Even when life feels chaotic, God is still in control. Every event, every experience, whether good or bad, is part of a bigger picture that God is painting for your life. It may not make sense right now, but there's a purpose behind everything you're going through. Jeremiah 29, verse 11 reminds us of this powerful truth. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. God's plan for you is filled with hope, even when your situation seems hopeless. He's not just watching from the sidelines. He's actively working in your life, weaving together all the details, even the painful ones, to create something beautiful. You may not see the reason today, but trust that God is working through it all. We often want immediate answers. We want to know why things are happening the way they are. But part of holding on to hope is letting go of the need to understand everything right now. It's trusting that God is good and that He will reveal the reasons in His time. Just like a seed planted in the ground doesn't bloom overnight, the reasons behind your struggles may not be clear today, but in time, they will become evident, and you'll see how God was working all along. So when you're tempted to give up or lose hope, remember, nothing in your life is random. God has a reason for everything you're experiencing, even if you don't see it yet. Hold on to that truth, because the hope that comes from knowing God is in control is unshakable. You may not understand today, but you will in time, and when you do, you'll see how every piece was part of God's perfect plan for your life. As we navigate the ups and downs of life, remember that God's plan is always perfect, even when it feels confusing. Trust that everything happens for a reason and have faith in His timing. Hold on to hope, knowing that each step you take is guided by a loving hand. Thank you for watching. If you found this message meaningful, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring content. Don't forget to check out our next video as we continue exploring God's incredible plan for our lives.